There's a bit of a quandary these days in state MCH programs. We know our mission is to improve the health and well-being for moms, other caregiving adults, kids, youth, and families, to eliminate health disparities and optimize health across the lifespan. So where do young adults, young people ages 18 to 25 fit in? And what's MCH role in all of this? That's something I'd like to explore with you. My name is Kristen Teipel. I direct the State Adolescent Health Resource Center at the University of Minnesota and am a partner in the Adolescent and Young Adult Health National Resource Center. We're really geeks about young adults, and we get your problem. They're not highlighted or even mentioned as a unique population in the federal Title V MCH block grant that funds our programs. Not surprisingly, few states highlight young adult needs through state performance measures and annual block grant applications. In fact, in 2019, only 5 states did so. But young adults are included in programs such as youth with special health care needs, family planning and pregnancy prevention, preconception and well woman care, often grouped into the age range of 15 to 44. And MCH does invest in adolescents so that they're healthy when they reach young adulthood. Isn't that enough? Well, no, honestly, it's not. Young adults need our support. And here's 2 really compelling reasons to invest specifically in their health and well-being. First is life course, that approach that drives much of our work. Young adulthood is a critical period in the life course, right up there with pregnancy, early childhood, and adolescence. It's a time when the accumulation of critical risk factors that get in the way of health, the ones we invest so much effort in throughout childhood, really come to a head. For example, we know that the more exposure to cumulative risks helps explain the link of poverty in early childhood with behavioral adjustment problems in young adults. It's a time when young people take charge of their lives in many ways that are new for them, where they live, what they do, who they interact with, how they take care of their health, make life decisions, the list goes on. It's also a time that young adults move out of the systems and social supports that they've counted on for so many years as children and adolescents. Things like families, schools, sports, youth-focused services, foster care, pediatric health care, just to name a few. And they move into the adult systems not really designed for them. This loss of structure and support requires that young adults rely more on their own resources in less structured environment, often for the first time and with newly developing life skills. It's kind of like a free-for-all as they find their path in the world as a new adult. Let's remember, it's also a time when they work to accomplish interrelated developmental tasks. Everything from figuring out who they are and their role in the world, developing their brain, refining old relationships, and creating new ones, all in a time of instability and change in many parts of their lives. It's a time when nothing is normative, when young people feel in between because we don't give them clear markers or rites of passage that tell them that they're really an adult. There's also those challenges that young adults experience just by growing up in this day and age. For example, according to the Institutes of Medicine and National Research Council, young adults are developing in a time of unprecedented scale of change. This radically alters the landscape of risk and opportunity, which poses greater demands for young adults with less room for failure. So imagine what this means for those who enter into young adulthood at a disadvantage. So, for example, young adults are the most racially and ethnically diverse generation to pass through the young adult years. And not surprisingly, many have experienced, on average, 6 types of racial discrimination by the time they leave adolescence and move into young adulthood. The percentage of young adults in poverty is growing. It's risen from 12% in 1980 to 20% in 2015. And they're more likely to be in poverty than most of our older generations, baby boomers and Gen Xers, at similar ages. Consider young adults who've aged out of the foster care system. Research tells us that 37% have been homeless or couch surfed by ages 23 to 24. Only 50% will have some form of gainful employment by this age, and 25% suffer from the direct effects of PTSD. Finally, consider disconnected youth, young people between the ages of 16 to 24 who are neither working nor in school, who are cut off from the opportunities to gain the skills, credentials, and relationships that provide a stable foundation in adulthood. Despite years of decline in the overall youth disconnection rate in the U.S., disparities between racial and ethnic groups persist. And disconnected young people are more than 3 times likely to have a disability than connected youths. All this points to young adulthood as a critical life course period, when their health trajectories can be particularly affected, and the environment that supports their health changes radically. Now, the second reason to invest in young adults is that this is a rather unhealthy time of life as compared to both adulthood and, surprisingly, adolescence. In fact, most markers of health in adolescence worsen in young adulthood. Homicide, motor vehicle deaths twice the rate of adolescence, alcohol use from binge drinking to drinking and driving, and abuse of other substances. Then keep in mind that most young adults are sexually experienced and have the highest unintended pregnancy rates for women age 18 to 24 and sexually transmitted infection rates for young adults age 20 to 24. It's also a critical period for the emergence of those critical mental health issues. All at the same time, young adults have less access to and use of health care. Young adulthood is a pivotal time of life, but the risks and challenges they face receive little attention from us. So it's clear young adults are honestly worth our investment. Problem is, they don't fit well into our MCH programs. Their health needs can be challenging to address. In fact, in a 2019 survey conducted by my center, the majority of respondents from state and territory MCH programs across the U.S. reported that young adults are hard to reach and are a difficult group to plan programs for. Data are a big issue. There's just not enough data to adequately address health needs. More than half of you expressed they're not really sure how to address young adult needs, and grantees aren't adequately skilled in working with them. Not surprisingly, 8 in 10 indicated their programs don't focus specifically on young adults. So back to MCH's role. It's really simple. Our role is to rethink MCH programs and create strategies designed specifically for young adults. Good thing is we know how to do this, and here's a few ideas. First is all about needs assessments. We assess needs all the time. The point here is to focus specifically on young adults, ages 18 to 24 or 25 depending on your data. Data can be hard to find, so mine young adult data in the traditional sources, surveys such as the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System, or BRFSS. Also, check with universities and community colleges to see if they participate in the American College Health Association survey, the National College Health Assessment. Data might be available there. Or go all out and collaborate with academic partners to create and conduct your own young adult survey. Of course, it's also important to revamp focus groups and other methods of gathering qualitative data to better capture the insights of young adults. Enlist community partners to reach young people in places they might typically gather. Here's a few that we've learned from you. Coffee shops, tattoo parlors, laundromats, community events, music festivals, spoken word events, sports tournaments, outdoor activities, tractor racing and pulling, county and state fairs, community and technical colleges, businesses with a large young adult workforce, and foster care programs, just to name a few. A related strategy is to just adopt a young adult measure in your Title V MCH block grant. This follows the adage that what gets measured gets done. This would also make your state or territory a trendsetter, as few others have done this to date in 2019. Obviously, choose measures that you can either highlight new needs or modify existing measures to focus specifically on young adults. This could include reducing chlamydia rates, increasing the percentage who receive an annual preventative visit or who are physically active, or a combined measure for reducing adolescent and young adult suicide rates. You could also include a systems building measure to expand young adult data. You might be pushing back right now that you just don't have the resources to start something new. But you don't need to. Instead, you can refine an existing program to make it young adult centered. Start by assessing how well your program fits their needs. Does it do things like provide opportunities for young adults to practice life skills? Young adult-centered programs take into account that due to developing brains, young adults have to work harder than mature adults to stay focused, make responsible choices, and avoid risky behaviors. All the things we want them to do. So they help young adults strengthen their skills to problem solve and prioritize, think ahead and plan long term, and regulate emotions and manage stress. So does your program focus on strengths and assure that the people who work with them really understand and enjoy it? And is your program technology and social media savvy? Because honestly, forget flyers and handouts. They just don't work with young adults. Want some help with this? Get advice from young adults themselves. This is critical. Don't back off from this because you lack resources to start a young adult advisory committee or do something formal. Start with what you already have. Talk with young adults already involved in your programs or those who are part of others' advisory councils. Technical colleges are a good place to look. Foster care programs typically have youth advisory groups with young adults aging out of foster care, and 4-H leaders can be a great lead to young adults. It's also important to expand partnerships with organizations interested in young adults, such as community colleges, technical schools, and universities, businesses with a high percentage of young adult employees. Are you hearing a trend here? State and regional jobs and employment training programs, and foundations and healthcare systems with a focus on young adults. Finally, train. Train adults to better understand and support young adults. This has been a powerful strategy in the field of adolescent health, as many adults don't get teenagers and have negative views about them. It's really the same for young adults. For example, a recent study of people between the ages of 18 to 87 found more negative feelings toward young adults than older adults, seeing them as immoral, narcissistic, and overconfident, less agreeable and emotionally stable, and when compared to young adults of past, seen as self-centered, less hardworking, lazier, and promiscuous. Wow, that gets in the way. So why does training matter? Because it helps us change how we perceive young adults. We learn to step into their shoes, to see the world through their lens, to look at them and their needs differently. It's a lot like reframing a 2-year-old's temper tantrum. When we see the meltdown not as a bad child who needs to be punished, but a child who is tired or overwhelmed but lacks the language to tell us, we can respond differently. With young adults, we can move away from reactions such as they don't show up or stick with things because they just don't care, or they're lazy, or they just don't want our help. We can see their needs differently and create programs and services that really meet young adults where they are and address their needs as they see them. One challenge: it's hard to find trainings about young adults, so you'll probably need to partner and create your own. And then please share it with the rest of us. The good thing is there are many resources online to draw from. Here's a few of my favorites that focus on everything from frameworks, research, health, development, and organizations that focus directly on young adults, such as Young Invincibles, a national organization focused on young adults aged 18 to 34 in areas of healthcare, education, and economic security. And for the truly forgotten group, the Partnership for Male Youth, which focuses on males ages 10 to 26. Check them out. If you'd like to learn more, reach out to us at the Adolescent and Young Adult Health National Resource Center. We offer technical assistance and training for state and territory MCH professionals, here to help you be the MCH trendsetter by investing in young adults. Remember, it's our role to support young people, to ensure that they have what they need for a lifetime of health, success, and well-being.